One of the great new features in XE5 is the REST client library. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use the REST client library and some slight changes I made to the REST debugger, which I think are really useful. So if you want to learn more about the REST client library, you can read about it in the doc wiki. Also, like I said, I'm going to show you the REST debugger. Check that out. Very useful tool for prototyping your REST applications. Now, one of the things when creating a REST demo, you got to find some data. This is a new web service by Kimono. It's called Kimono Labs, and they let you turn any website into a REST API, which is pretty cool. So if you come here to their site, sign up, hit get started, and they're going to say drag this bookmarklet to your bookmark bar, like I did just there, or you can paste a URL of a page in here. So let's go to the Seattle Seahawks schedule here, and let's go ahead and Kimonify, turn this into a web service. So let's add this bar up here along the top. If you go to their website, they have lots of tutorials about how to use this, but I'm just going to show you really quick here. And we're going to start with the game number. So it makes a guess of what you're wanting to select, and you tell it what you don't want and what you do want. And there we go. It selected all of them, 25 items. And so we'll say number. And then we're going to add another one, and this is the outcome of the game. Okay? So again, we don't want that. We do want this one, and it still doesn't have all of them. So I'm going to select again, and it says, whoa, everything. I say, no, not that, just that. Okay. So it uses the structure of the page and the styles and stuff like that in order to determine what items are in this category. So again, we have 25 items, so we've got enough, and that is the outcome. So we're going to go again. Oh, that was the date. That's the date. That's okay. I'll change it. And then here we're going to select the outcome. So don't select those, select those, select those. And it says 20. That's because loss has got a different style applied to it. And there we go. Now I've got 23. Now the reason we have 23 is because this one doesn't have an outcome because it's a buy. And this one doesn't have an outcome because it's a buy. Okay. So we're going to say outcome. All right. And now we want to select the teams. Now the way the page is laid out, Seahawks aren't always the first or the second. So we're just going to select team 1. And is this one? There we go. Team 1. Team 1 name. And then we're going to select team 1 score. So not that, but that and that. Team 1 score. And again, not that, but that is team 2 name, and then the team 2 score. We don't want that. Okay. Team 2 score. Okay, so we see these here don't include the buys, and so there's only 23 items. The rest is 25. We come over here, and this is going to show us the names we gave everything. So I had outcome twice. This would be date. So number, date, outcome, team 1 name, team 1 score, team 2 name, team 2 score. All right, and then we're going to go over here and view the data. Now, one note is I want to use this with the dataset adapter so that it can put this in a grid automatically for me. Now, there's not a good way to put objects in the grid. There's only a good way to put these name value pairs. So we want to make sure that we select things that are name value. Now, with Kimonify, if we select something that is a link, then the value will have 2 values to it. So you actually have an object in here. It's got a text and href. Okay, so make sure you're not selecting anything that has a link, and you'll get these nice name value pairs. All right, so now we're done. So we're going to hit done, and we're going to give it a name. We'll say Seahawks schedule. Now, this is after the schedule's over, so it's not going to update very often, but we'll go ahead and leave it update daily, but we could change it here if we wanted to. There we go, we're done. And we'll just click this link here, and it takes us to our web service details. You can edit it down here. That's a new feature, or delete it when you're done. And it says usage fee 0. I've signed up for their free account. So I don't believe there's any charges for that, but eventually there are things they will charge for. So right now I'm going to come over to how to use, and I'm going to select this big URL here. So this URL includes both the API and the API key. Okay, so we copy that clipboard, and let's go to Rad Studio XE5, and we'll go into Tools, REST Debugger. Now I added tools, this tool here, to the REST Debugger through the Configure Tools option, but you can do that too. I highly recommend it because it's really useful if you're doing any REST development. Now, like I said, this is a slightly modified version of the REST Debugger. I added an additional button here. Now you have the source code to the REST Debugger, and I'll post the source code of the code that's behind this button in my blog post, so you can grab this and update it to do this as well. So I'll go ahead and show you what I did here. Is I can put in my URL, we'll say send request, and it came back and said, okay, we got some data, this is what it looks like. And now I don't want, if I go into the tabular data right now, it just has the information about the web service, but we want the actual data of the web service. Now we can look here, here's the information about the web service, when it was last run, the frequency, the schedule, the name, etc. But what we want is the results. And so we're going to go to results, collection 1. We hit apply, we come over here, tabular data, and there is our data. So when I hit copy components, it's going to actually use the component serialization feature to copy all of the components used for this REST request to the clipboard. Now, this is a really simple one. We're not getting into authentication or parameters or anything like that. But in theory, that should all be supported by this code as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit copy to the clipboard. Come back here to Rad Studio XE5, and we're going to make a new project. Now this should work with any project, C++ Builder, Delphi, Mobile, FireMonkey, VCL, shouldn't matter. But so I'm going to go ahead and do a FireMonkey desktop application. And I'm going to put down a grid. String grid. Okay, so now I have all those components in my clipboard. So I'm going to paste them onto the palette, and there they are there. Now one thing is it doesn't include the data set that is used for the data set adapter. And the reason is that the debugger uses the T-client dataset. Now you might want to use the FD memtable instead. So I'll let you add what you want, FD memtable. So we'll do the FD memtable this time. And then come here to the REST response dataset adapter, and we're just going to point it to that dataset, FD memtable. And so now we can go to the REST request and right click and say execute. And it says executed successfully. So now we can right click, say bind visually, and here's our string grid. There's our mem table. That's what we want to bind up here is these two. So we're going to drag this mem table over to the star to synchronize it, and then we're done. So now we have our grid displaying our Seahawks schedule of all their wins and losses, a couple losses over the last season. So very easy to consume a REST web service with the new REST client that's included in XE5, as we see here. And then with those slight modifications to the REST debugger, it's very easy to go from a debugged web service into an actual application. So check out my blog for the code that you can download to modify your REST debugger to have that functionality as well.